Hosts and their guests and not those of W4CY Radio, its employees, or affiliates. We make no recommendations or endorsements for radio show programs, services, or products mentioned on air or on our web. No liability, explicit or implied, shall be extended to W4CY Radio or its employees or affiliates. Any questions or comments should be directed to those show hosts. Thank you for choosing W4CY Radio.
Welcome to the Ask the Experts show on W4CY Radio and Talk4 TV, where we bring you educational information from top local experts in the fields of legal, health, financial, and home improvement. Now sit back and listen to experts in family law, association law, hearing loss, business brokers, home care, along with many other topics. Now here are your hosts, Steve-O and Sophia.
Hey, good morning. Welcome to another Ask the Expert show where we bring you the top experts in the field of legal, health, financial, and home improvement. I always write out a little something before each expert. And this show this morning, I don't have to write anything out. We've been doing this together for, I think, about 12 years now. We started off in radio together. But I wanted to say before I start is I got an email from a listener telling us how much they listen to a lot of podcasts and a lot of national shows. And he complimented us on how much he enjoys listening to our shows. And he said, especially your show about taxes. He said, I really enjoy that Barry Fowler. And I thought that was so cool for someone to take the time out just to write a letter like that and compliment us. And Barry Fowler, without a doubt, puts on the best show because he sits here for 1 hour and educates you. And he's got so much experience. And we were just talking before the show goes by so fast. And we do 2 50-minute shows a month. Let me welcome the president and founder of Taxation Solutions, Inc. He's an enrolled agent. He's licensed to represent taxpayers before the Internal Revenue Service. He has got such a great experience. And I think one of the reasons I love Barry is how he's always thinking of new ideas to help people. And that doesn't happen very often. So I want to welcome my friend, Barry Fowler of Taxation Solutions, Inc. Good morning, Barry.
Hey, good morning, Steve. How are you today? Man.
Yeah, it's so easy doing your show. It's so easy introducing you. And I'm telling you, you got that little bit of that Southern drawl like I do. And people really appreciate what they love about your show, Barry, is your stories that you tell. We don't ever give out names or anything, but anyway, people really appreciate you. And you also have your own podcast that you do on Mondays.
Yeah, it's Tax Talk for You. You can go to taxtalk4you.com and subscribe there. So you don't miss an episode. And if you have missed one, we've got all the podcasts on all the different podcast sites, including iHeart, Spotify, you name it. It's pretty much out there. Stephen, when we do these shows, sometimes we chat before the show and, just find out family and everything. We were talking about my son. And I think our producer, Rebel, said something really interesting. One bad baseball coach can really set a kid back or make him lose the love of playing the game. Well, I got to thinking just a second ago, that relates to taxes.
Yes.
One bad tax preparer can set you up to have a very bad experience and owe money to the IRS, even get you in audit trouble. So, when you start thinking about life, you got to think about, who you choose or have chosen in the past to do your taxes, who you choose to represent you when you owe the IRS money, because that person including yourself, if you're a do-it-yourselfer, can be the one that gets you into bigger trouble, more penalties, more taxes owed, or go through that dreaded IRS audit that everybody ever dreads.
You know, Barry, I was thinking the other day, because we've talked about it on the show before. There's a national company that prepares your taxes out there. And they say, you know, if you ever run into a problem with the IRS, if they've prepared your taxes, they're right there with you. And I think they keep their fingers crossed that no one ever has a problem, because I told you a friend of mine had a problem. They prepared their taxes for him, and the IRS was saying, no, you owe more. And Barry, they were not there for them. They didn't return phone calls. They did nothing for them. And that's one of their big things. We prepare your taxes. If there's a problem with the IRS, we will be there right with you. But that doesn't, that's just,
You know, they're gambling.
yeah,
There's
their
basically
fingers are crossed.
1 or 2% chance that people get audited. So, I mean, audit chances aren't really high. Now, if you got somebody that really screws up your tax return, doesn't includes things that don't exist, like maybe they put in there that you're running a business and losing money, but you've never owned one. You know, you got to look at what you're signing. And people these days don't read, they don't look, they just sign. You put a piece of paper in front of them, they sign. It's kind of like downloading those apps. Who reads the myriad of pages of disclaimers and reasons? You know, here's what you're agreeing to. Did you ever read those? You know, if they lose your information, you lose privacy, it's not their fault. They don't care. It's the same thing when you sign your tax return. The preparer is not responsible for what's in the return. They just prepared it. You sign with 100% liability and responsibility for that tax return. So when you sign your tax return, go through and look at it. We never, when we're preparing returns, send them a final return to sign without them looking and reviewing a draft first. People say, hey, I don't understand it. I don't know what's in it. Hey, we talk to them. We'll explain to you. Here's where these numbers come from. You know, this is your W-2. This comes from your business income from a business you have, and here's your Schedule C. Or you have K-1s coming from investments or a business that you possibly own. This is where the information comes from. You need to have at least a little bit of understanding on what's in your tax return before you sign it. So when you go to some of these places that just say, hey, we'll prepare your return for you, and maybe they're the lowest cost that you can find out there, doesn't make them the best choice, doesn't make them qualified. Some of these places, they're only as good as the person doing the data input. And all they're doing is following the data input on their screen. It says, input W-2 here, input this here, go to this next question. And that's it. And then they don't do anything more. Whereas we're looking for places that you can save money. We're looking for credits that you should be taking that you haven't taken. When you're a new client of ours, we go back and look at your last 2 or 3 tax returns to make sure, A, they were right, make sure everything was reported, and then look for deductions you didn't take because they weren't looking for them. And that's how simple we try to make things for you.
Barry, we just got a text in, and I know we've touched on this before, but he says, I'm enjoying your show. I noticed you talking about how long the tax forms are and how people don't read them. Barry, what happened to that postcard that they were going to do to make filing taxes easier? I know we've talked about this before.
All right, so I'm going to get myself in trouble. All right, and Lord knows I'm not, willing to jump out there and get in trouble ever, am I? See, Congress passes a law, And if it was up to the Democrats, the form would just simply say, how much did you make? Send it in and we'll give you something back. Republicans are, hey, we got to find as many credits and give people back as money and lower the tax rates for everybody across the board. But when you have both of those fighting, and then you have all the lobbyists out there, now you go from that little postcard, which was never really a postcard. It was a two-sided postcard with a myriad of schedules behind it. So Schedule 1, Schedule 2, Schedule 3, Schedule C, Schedule this, Schedule that. And it never really ever was that postcard. They were trying to make it simple so you could just, if you were a W-2 person and had nothing else, you just put your W-2 in there and you're done. But if you have, investments, you have a business, you have children, or maybe you qualify for the earned income tax credit, you got to file all these forms. I mean, the IRS even throws on us a lot of due diligence. So, if you have a child reported on your thing, or you qualify for earned income credit, or you qualify for head of household, we've got to do a lot of due diligence. We've got to check to make sure for the IRS that some of this stuff is right. So it's kind of crazy that the things they throw on us, but it makes that postcard very, very big, many forms. And if they did it in a postcard form, I think it would be, something like that high with that many postcards in it. But also, you got to remember, almost everything's electronic these days. Can you go to the post office these days and get all the tax forms you need like you used to be able to do? No, you don't see them there. You don't see the instruction books there. Last time I was at the post office, you'd have to go down to the IRS to get it. And I don't even know if they have all the publications printed out there anymore. So, we don't know. But if you need help, if you owe money to the IRS, give us a call. We'll do a free consultation. It's a free phone call. It's 888-930-1016, 888-930-1016. Hey, this is a hotline. We're offering tax analysis. If you got a tax problem, let us find out what the tax problem is, figure out what the debt is. We're going to do 50% off for those that are watching, listening, or Ask the Experts. And, we want to be able to help you figure out, hey, was the IRS right? You and I have talked. IRS is not always right. People get scared to challenge the IRS. We're not scared to challenge the IRS and tell them they're wrong. We're not scared to go tell the IRS this needs to be fixed so we can get a proper amount of debt, or maybe even get rid of the debt just by fixing tax returns that were either done wrong, or the audit was never done with support, or the IRS just blatantly missed it. And that could be the case too.
We just got through with tax day. Here in Florida, they've extended it, but for most people out there, tax day has passed. We got a lot of mail, Barry, which we talked about on our last show, people asking what can they do if they don't have the money to pay their taxes, or if they haven't filed yet.
Well, if you haven't filed yet, let's get you filed. I mean, that's the first thing, because you can't deal with tax debt if you haven't filed the current year's to return, or any of the last 6 returns. We've got to get those filed. So the first step is to get that filed. Second step is do that tax analysis, see what else you have going on out there, or why you owe. Maybe there's a simple solution. And then the third is, let's find the solution to put in place that you qualify for, that you can afford. Just because you owe the IRS money doesn't mean you've got a full pay. It doesn't even mean you have to pay, because you possibly could be in a non-collectible status. And sometimes it means we can just go in and settle this debt for a lot less than you owe, but you got to meet the qualifications and the parameters that the IRS has set for every program that the IRS has out there. Now we sit down with each one of our clients and we do something probably a little bit different. And we don't just analyze the debt that you have and, reasons for it, but we sit down and start looking at your financial history, what's going on currently financially for you. And we try to help you reset your life to qualify for the best program ever. So that means if it is a partial pay installment agreement, we've set you up to pay only a partial amount of what is due over whatever the CSED, statute of limitations, for the debt to run out. Or maybe the debt is just way too much and you want to get rid of it. You can't wait for the statute of limitations to run out and you qualify for an offer in compromise because maybe we change a couple things in your life to make it better for you to qualify. And instead of paying the IRS, you're investing that money into yourself, into what's happening in your own personal household that makes your life a little bit better. And that's a big difference between somebody that's just going to sell you on a program, whether you qualify or not, and somebody that's going to take the time to try to help you qualify where you can, or get you into a program that maybe meets your life and your lifestyle better. And that's sometimes the hard part in doing this because most cookie cutter, big box, whatever you want to call them out there that are doing IRS resolution work, sometimes just think you fall right into the same box as everybody else because that's what they are taught to sell, versus those that actually care about you and what fits you the best.
Barry, I bet you have heard so many stories. I mean, think about people who owe the IRS. It's not like a normal bill. It's the IRS. And they don't have the funds to pay, or they don't know what to do. They think they're going to be going to jail. And when they actually contact you, contact Taxation Solutions, I got to tell you, they must, after sitting down with you, have to come out of your office so relieved, because it is got to be a horrible burden on somebody when they owe the IRS.
Well, Steve, some people come out of here knowing that the pressure has been taken off their back. Some people come out of here hating me. And I can't do anything about it. It's their life situation. You know, you hear the commercials that are out there, and those commercials are, settle this for far less than you owe, and you expect the pipe dream, and you have called this company or that company, and they've told you that you can have the pipe dream that you've always wanted in your life to settle your debt for nothing.
Yes.
Then you sit down with us and we put realization to it. And we actually talk about numbers. We talk about what you think you owe, because what you think you owe may not be exactly what you owe. You may owe more. A lot of times you do, because you hadn't opened all those wonderful love letters that the IRS sends you. And then we talk about your income, your assets, including your house, your IRAs, your 401ks. And, maybe this debt was yours personally and you got married recently. Well, we got to talk about your wife's income, because it supports the family too. And now with all of that, we sit down and we showed you the numbers and you go, you don't qualify for an offer in compromise. You may not even qualify for a partial pay installment agreement, but we can go after penalty abatement. We can go after fixing tax returns if that's the case. And then it's an installment agreement. And some people walk away and go, you have no idea what you're talking about. But those are the ones that come running back to us 4 or 6 months later and went, man, I'm sorry I doubted you. I wish I would have been with you to begin with, because we could have put this thing to bed and you could have really helped me. Now I've got a bigger problem. So if you're actually on the phone talking to a IRS resolution company, ask them the question, how do you know that I can qualify for an offer in compromise, especially when they didn't ask you your income or anything about your assets
Yes.
or your life? If you can ask that question and they can honestly answer you, you can qualify because you don't make enough income. Hang up the phone quickly. Because remember, they didn't even ask you that question. Or they say, everybody qualifies. We can get everybody qualified. Well, then what's the guarantee if everybody qualifies? And they're going to hang up the phone. Or better yet, play a really nice game with people. And I do this even with scam people. When they answer the phone and you hear something say it's on a recorded line, or they start talking about wanting to buy your house or wanting to settle your tax debt, tell them you're on a recorded line as well, and watch how fast they hang up.
That's a great idea.
Hey, now you know it's a scam. You know, I've had people call me over my tax debt. Really? I don't owe any money. And I know that for a fact.
Yes.
And, you know, so I'll play along. But at some point, I'll also say, you're on a recorded line. And then they hang up immediately.
I'll bet they do.
Which, you know, I know it's a scam. So if somebody's calling you over your tax debt, just hang up the phone. Even if you know you owe, hang up the phone. You know, call Taxation Solutions. Go to taxationsolutions.net. If you call us at 888-930-1016, again, we're doing that transcript analysis 50% off. We're going to talk for free about your tax debt, your tax problems, what got you into the problem. It's a no judgment zone. How we could possibly help you find and get you the best solution to your tax debt. But that's you picking up that phone and calling us and asking for that consultation, talking to us about what's going on for your tax problem. And that includes federal and state taxes. We deal with both of them. We have a lot of clients in New Mexico that have been calling us and letting us help them get them out of trouble with the state. And, you know, that's not an easy feat dealing with some of these states. You know, New York, New Jersey, you know,
California.
California is a whole nother topic out there. You know, yeah, we'll help you with California, but those guys, I don't even think they know what they're doing at the franchise board in California, and they're worse than the IRS at times. But if you're in the great state of Texas, we don't have to worry about that. You know, even Florida, Tennessee, man, you can pick states that don't have income tax and you don't ever have to worry about it. So we make it easy. Illinois is another one that we've dealt with to get people out of their income tax debt and stuff as well. So we do things to help our clients solve their problems, get out of debt, get their life back, be able to sleep at night. I think that's one of the best selling points of Taxation Solutions is you get to go to bed, sleep at night, knowing that Taxation Solutions took that tax monkey off your back and we're dealing with him. We're going to beat him into submission. You know, that's what happens with the monkey.
Barry Ronan in Seabrook, Texas. I don't know where that is. He said, I saw a commercial the other night from one of the national tax resolution companies, and they said that the IRS now goes to your neighbors and your relatives. Is that true?
Roman, thanks for the message and everything. I'm laughing. Yes and no. Okay. a lot of these companies are going to do every scare tactic they can
Right.
possibly do to get you to call them. Now, that being said, IRS, yes, is the biggest, baddest, nastiest collection agency in the whole wide world. Have more power than any other agency, especially here in the U.S. I guess Russia's, KGB or whatever it is that they have would probably be worse because, yeah, they probably come out a little bit worse than our IRS does. But if they're considering that you've committed fraud, that, the criminal investigation unit is looking at you, yes, they can come out and do it. You've completely ignored the IRS for an audit, and they think that you've lied, cheated, and stole from them by not reporting income or whatever. They always say, yes, they can go to friends, family, neighbors, business associates, and inquire about you. So, let's say you're reporting you have almost no income from your business, but you live in $1 million house and have a pool and all this other fun stuff that you can't afford based on what you're reporting on your income tax return. They're going to consider that you did commit fraud. They're going to do everything they can to investigate. So, but, the people that do that, they know who they are. They have to really worry about it, day in and day out. I've had a client that years ago, they were complaining to me that their neighbor never paid tax and did everything under the sun and wrote every single thing off. And I said, well, first off, you don't really know what your neighbor's doing or not doing, because did they let you look at their tax return?
Right.
Most likely they didn't. It's like some of our truckers that we do bookkeeping and tax for. You get advice at the fuel pump. Is that advice good? It's only worth what you paid for. And you didn't pay them anything, did you? So it's worth nothing. And maybe they're writing things off. Maybe they have a business in the home and they've done improvements for the office for the business and they're writing that off because there's possibilities of doing that. Or maybe they got a bigger piece of property and they put a shed and they're using that shed or building for business. So yeah, there's write-offs there. But doesn't mean they're not paying any tax. It doesn't mean they're getting away scot-free or writing every single thing off. And it also doesn't make it right. So you kind of got to look at every single thing you're doing and how it relates to your business. Now, I speak at a wonderful organization called OOIDA, Owner Operators Independent Drivers Association, and specifically around trucking and truckers, bookkeeping, trucker taxes. And we talk about how to make sure that items that you're claiming on your tax return or not claiming on the tax return, let's say, that should be business, that you're not claiming for business. Because we want to make sure everything that you're paying for business is pre-tax, not after the money's been taxed. So we're looking for items that you're doing things in personal life that should be business and making sure that the bookkeeping is done right so the taxes can be reduced to the lowest amount allowed by law and get you every deduction that's out there. Those are the fun things we get to do.
We're going to talk about that. We always answer everybody's questions. Here's Brantley. Barry, does your company have tax forms, or do you know where to get tax forms?
If you're looking to do taxes yourself, the best place to go is irs.gov. You can request any forms that you need there. We have no forms here. We have our software. We electronically file pretty much every single return we can file. The back years, anything before 2022, so 21 and earlier, we do the tax returns. We have to print them out. We have to get actual manual signature on them, and then the forms get sent into the IRS to be filed. We cannot electronically file them. As much as the IRS wants everybody to e-file, for some reason their computer system only allows us to electronically file the last 3 years. So, 24, 23, 22 can be electronically filed. Anything before that has got to be paper filed. Now, when you paper file them, expect delays, and more delays, because sometimes it takes the IRS almost a year to process those old returns. Now, if you got a tax problem, we'll work with the revenue officer or one of the IRS agents to get that balance reflected so that we can actually start the process of putting a solution in place. If that solution happens to be an offering compromise, we can file that offering compromise with those returns included so that we can get this moving faster down the road to the path of settlement, as opposed to waiting for them to slowly process those returns. And it's going to get worse with them cutting back people from the IRS, but some of those people didn't know what they were doing anyway, so it's probably a good cut.
Barry, I was shocked. I watched a interview with the Doge people that are looking at the IRS, and I was shocked to see how old their systems are, how outdated I know you're not surprised, but I was shocked how outdated their systems are. Does that shock you at all?
It's shocking because of how much money they have put into the systems that they do have. And with that kind of money, you would think their system should be state of the art, top of the line, quick, fast, and easy. But we always knew, dealing with the IRS agents, I mean, the system drops, the system's slow, and we're sitting and waiting. When we deal with the IRS, they'll tell us, well, we've got to go through and gather information. Mind if we put you on hold for 5 minutes? And then 5 minutes is up, they come on and I need 5 more minutes. Is that okay? Well, what am I going to say? No. So I have to hang up the phone and call again. You couldn't even gather the information in the first 5 minutes. And my system that I have, when you're a client and we've got power of attorney already on file for you, or we get the power of attorney on file, I gather most of that information in less than 3 minutes from the IRS's systems. Now, it takes us longer to get all the rest of the detail because we've got to actually call the IRS to get tax mod A and some other proprietary reports that we want to see what's going on and what the IRS is doing behind the scenes. But my system, once we get through that, can gather all the information, give it to me so I can spend a few hours sitting down and doing an analysis of it, put it into a nice report so that everybody has an understanding of the tax debt and where you're at with the systems that are in place. So it's amazing that the IRS couldn't do the exact same thing as fast as we can, even in their antiquated systems, because our system pulls it from their antiquated system.
Hey, Barry, I thought the other day when I saw that 29,000 agents are taking early retirement. And if you've ever tried to contact, especially if you're a business owner, the IRS and how long you're on hold for, it's going to get worse with 29,000 people taking early retirement. It just seems so easy just to let you, Taxation Solutions, handle it. And you got a business to run. You don't want to be on the phone on hold for 2 hours.
I don't even want to be on the phone on hold for 2 hours. But, sometimes we have to spend 30 minutes or 60 minutes on the phone on hold. And then The last phone call I made yesterday to the IRS, I actually got through pretty quick on our proprietary line, and it took them over 2 hours to pull the documentation and information that we were requesting for this client that just signed up with us that morning, but had a major problem, and we needed to get the information and get holds put in place. So we got that power of attorney back. We got on the phone with the IRS. 2 hours later, we finally got a hold put in place for them and got most of the information. Now we're waiting on them to send us some other stuff, but we got most of the information right then and there so that we can start designing their solution to their tax problem, because it's not a forever hold. There's limited time frames. In this case, I was able to get a 180-day hold on the account because we needed a lot of time to be able to do this. And I'll tell you what, the IRS isn't very apt at giving that long of hold. But we had some convincing reasons and arguments to get that hold in place. And we have that hold so that we can spend the time to get everything up to date. And this client's going to need a lot of bookkeeping and some other tax work done. And at the end of the day, we might be able to go and offer and compromise. We're still trying to figure out what the end game is going to be. We did see some things that in this person's data that told us that, hey, we might be better off going in and amending some returns and fixing some things, but we're waiting on the client now to get us some supporting documentation. So the one thing you got to understand is no matter who you hire, this is a work together project. This is teamwork. We deal with the IRS. We help you put everything into the most logical format. We help you put everything together so that we can get you the best solution. But it takes time for you to help gather the source documents that we need. I have a client we've been dealing with for over a year now, and we're at the end of his contract and telling him, hey, look, you've been dragging your feet. We can't control the IRS anymore because you're not doing your part. And if the IRS so chooses to come and collect, this is on you because you're not participating. We can't get your bank statement from your bank, or we can't get your car loan statement that we need for the support for the solution we're trying to put in place. And we're trying to put a solution in place that you wanted all along, which was the offering compromise, which would settle this debt. I mean, they owe $44,000, and we would be settling this debt for less than $1,000, but you won't participate. And I need that information and support to be able to send it to the IRS. What are you going to do when the IRS gives us a short deadline when they're reviewing the offer and you won't provide us documents? We're going to lose an offer. So when you're working with us, be prepared to give timely participation and help to get that solution that you need. I mean, that's the hard part sometimes in dealing with clients that don't want to deal with the tax problem. And you got to help address that head on. And if you're not going to participate, let the IRS take whatever you have and call it a day. I mean, you got to give some participation too.
Barry, I tell you what's so amazing, and this is what is going to lead me into this next segment. There's these big companies out there is trying to scare you or making false promises. And while they're doing that, Taxation Solutions is figuring out ways that they can help their client. And you came up with the IRS playbook. How you like that for a segment?
Steven, don't give me credit for this.
I am giving you credit for it.
No, this is my wife's idea.
Oh, that's right.
This was not my idea. I put it together, but this was absolutely Meg's idea of, hey, how can you do something to help people that want to do it yourself, or, want to figure out, am I going to be choosing the right solution? Am I choosing the right place? So yes, I put this together and work very hard at putting the 3 simple steps that we use to get a solution to IRS problems. So if you go to www.irsplaybook.info, you can go there and discover our IRS playbook to get the IRS off your back for good in as little as 3 simple steps. Now, she came to me and said, hey, this would be the idea. You talk when you're on Ask the Experts, you talk when you're on your own program, taxtalkforyou.com, and on the radio here at W4CY and Talk 4 TV. You talk about all these things. So why not write a book about it? Why not make it simple? Something doesn't cost anybody to go online and get. It's not sold at Amazon. It's not sold on any of these other places. This is absolutely free for you. You just go there, put your information in, and we give you access to the IRS playbook. And then you can go through this playbook and learn what I do and the 3 simple steps that I use to get rid of the IRS and get it off your back, for good. Solve your tax problem. And, hey, this doesn't mean that, hey, you just read this book and it's done. No, I mean, you've got to do some work.
Yeah.
And if you go through this and you decide, hey, this isn't what I want to do and I don't want to do this myself, well, then you give Taxation Solutions a call or go to taxationsolutions.net and put in your information and we'll give you a call. We'll get you all set up and we'll talk to you and do a free consultation, see that whether you're right for us and we're right for you. And we'll both make that decision because this is a decision for both of us to make. But you've got to call or go to the website. You can call us at 888-930-1016. Again, 888-930-1016, or just go to taxationsolutions.net. And again, hey, if you really want to look and read about the 3 simple steps that we use to get the IRS off your back for good, go to irsplaybook.info. irsplaybook.info. I lay it out there.
I got to tell you, we had someone write, said, I try to get on that Taxation Solutions website, but it's .net. It's
.net.
Taxation Solutions, plural.net. He was using .com or something. Anyway, just remember to put in the .net. And Barry, I got to get this in too, because I think this is something incredible that you created. You do a lot of work with truck drivers.
We do.
And you actually handle books for truck drivers at a really reasonable rate.
Steve, the funny part is we got out of the bookkeeping and general tax business several years ago. And about 8 years ago, we had some of our clients, a lot of our clients were truckers that were in trouble with the IRS and owed a bunch of debt. And a few of them came to us and said, well, can you do our bookkeeping? And I went, maybe.
Do they keep their receipts very well, Barry?
No, not really, but we've developed systems around truckers. When we decided to go into the trucker bookkeeping and tax business and help these truckers and keep them out of IRS problems and everything else, we had to develop something that made it easy for them to get us information to do their bookkeeping. And so that's what we did. And we developed systems knowing that these truckers are never home. They're on the road. They're over the road truckers. they're working their tails off for you and I, getting goods to the stores, food to the stores, you name it. If you buy it at a store, a truck got it there. So we decided we would help them. We set up a company called truckertaxtools.com that helps truckers, that does their bookkeeping, does their taxes. And, that's how I got involved with Owner Operators Independent Drivers Association and their foundation, and got to start speaking at a show called Truck to Success, as well as the Mid-American Trucking Show and some other shows out there, all supporting truckers and teaching truckers about bookkeeping and taxes and how we can do it for them. I mean, our prices for bookkeeping for truckers starts at $25 a week. I mean, that's just a little over $100 a month. You can't beat that. One truck, you're out there as an owner operator, and it's tax deductible as well. So you're saving money on your taxes. You're getting the experts that know how to find all the deductions for truckers, and we're lowering their tax burden down by finding all those deductions, and then even talking to them about how their companies are set up, and doing that consultation as well with them to make sure whether they should be a partnership, S corp, or just a sole proprietorship, and what's best for them to save them the most money on taxes and make their life a heck of a lot easier. Because at the end of the day, it's not how much money comes in, it's how much money you can keep. Because if you can have $1 million come in, but if you have $1 million go out, how much do you have left? Zero. But if you can keep more of that money, save that money for retirement, save that money for other expenses, save that money for your future, you're better off. And that goes for every single business. Tax Talk for You just yesterday, or Monday actually, because we're on Monday at 10 a.m. Eastern time on W4CY Radio.
Every
we
Monday.
were just talking about budgeting. And we did a class of Budgeting 101. Hey, budgeting for business, budgeting for personal. It's again about saving money and keeping more money in your pocket. And speaking of Tax Talk for You, we also did a month or two ago, we did Tax Solutions 101. How to solve your tax debt. So we did 101, 201. So we did an advanced course as well. So if you go over to Tax Talk for You, you can even find more information about settling your tax debts as well. So go to taxtalk4you.com, subscribe over there, gather the information you need to help your life.
It's great because you can go to iHeart's podcast and look up all Barry shows. You can go to Spotify's podcast. They're the largest in the country. They have the most shows on there. You can go and see Barry's shows for his podcast. You can also see these shows right here. Barry, I say the last couple minutes, we spend the whole time educating people, but I want to spend the last 2 minutes tell people why they should hire Taxation Solutions, Inc.
I like to say I am one of the best in the business. In-depth knowledge, been doing this for a long, long time. And as you know, I've been in the tax industry for close to now, I guess we're getting close to 40 years. And been saving people money on their taxes, saving people from the IRS. But again, as much as I am A+ rated in the BBB, as much as we can save people money and put solutions in place, we can never do it unless you take the initiative and make that call. Toll free, 888-930-1016. Again, 888-930-1016. We'll get you that free consultation. Let's talk about your tax issues. No judgment. Let us find the solution that's right for you. Even if you've talked to somebody else, or even if you talk to us and want to go and talk to somebody else, at least make the phone call, find out what we're about, find out what we think we can do for you, and what solutions we can put in place or where to actually begin. And then, hey, if we're not the right fit or we feel we're not the right fit, no hard feelings. Go do what you need to do to help yourself and help your family, but do something to help your family. And do it quickly before the IRS does. Steve, as always.
Yeah, buddy.
I say thank you.
You'll be back again with us next month. Barry's our only show that we do twice a month live for the full 50 minutes. It is so well worth it. Barry, hey, by the way, happy Easter. And we are just so blessed to have you. One more time with the phone number, Barry.
Taxationsolutions.net, 888-930-1016. Again, 888-930-1016. Hey, Steve-O, thank you very much. Hey, catch all of these episodes at Ask the Experts, and go check them out. They have a lot of great experts out here on Ask the Experts as well. Thank you, Steve-O.
Love you, bro. See you soon. That's Barry Fowler. That's going to be it for us today. We'll be back again with you next week with more Ask the Experts.
Thanks for tuning in today to the Ask the Expert show on W4CY Radio and Talk4 TV. Tune in next week and every week to hear more from our experts on personal injury, insurance, air condition repairs, estate planning, Medicare, and many other topics in the areas of legal, health, financial, and home improvement. See you next week.